Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. You know, it really feels like we're living in the era of exposure. It's bombshell report after bombshell report. You know, basically for decades, the US government was allowed to operate in the shadows, no real transparency or oversight, and it was just kind of the accepted state. It just was how it was. But then Donald Trump and Elon Musk came on the stage, and now it's a completely different environment. They've essentially pulled the curtain. These federal institutions that were once untouchable are now essentially being stripped naked and exposed for what they really are. And what we're uncovering thanks to Elon Musk, well, it's truly staggering. And yep, you pretty much get exactly where I'm going with this. Elon Musk has uncovered, yet again, another massive bombshell. It seems the corrupt regime is panicking and they attempted to delete a whole lot of files, hoping, I guess, that Elon Musk wouldn't get his hands on them. But unfortunately for them, I guess they didn't use the same bleach bit that Hillary Clinton used. And now, according to Elon Musk, they've recovered the files. It continues to be a very interesting and exciting news cycle. Let me update you guys on this latest potential bombshell. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so this could possibly be quite huge. Take a look at what popped up on my timeline. We've got a tweet here from Autism Capital who writes, "New. Elon Musk says the United States Institute of Peace deleted a terabyte of financial data linking them to funding the Taliban and Iraqi leaders, but he and the Doge team were able to recover the data due to the agency's ineptitude with technology." Then Elon Musk responded and seems to confirm the story by simply replying, "Yup." So according to new findings from the Department of Government Efficiency, USIP made a $132,000 payment to a former Taliban official. Just take a moment to let that sink in. Your tax dollars hard at work paying terrorist leaders. And that right there is just the beginning. We're also seeing reports of a $1.3 million payment to an Iraqi youth organization that smells a whole lot like a shell operation, $2.23 million moved to foreign accounts, and another $675,000 blown on, quote, private aviation. And the biggest red flag here, USIP allegedly tried to delete over a terabyte of financial data to cover those payments up. But like I said in the intro, apparently they're not tech savvy enough to know that when you delete something off a hard drive, it doesn't really get rid of it entirely. There's little kind of encrypted remnants of the file that still exist and can in fact be recovered. And so that's exactly what Elon Musk's team did. Doge recovered the data, and now we have our hands on more evidence of taxpayer dollars being funneled into very shady foreign entities, some of which, in this case, are directly tied to terrorism. And this is very similar to the whistleblower account that we covered roughly a month ago during a USAID hearing, where a whistleblower testified under oath that federal agencies were funding terrorist-linked organizations and that they had passed regulation that essentially allowed them to do that without oversight or accountability.
Mr. Roman, are you aware that we are sending $40 million a week to the Taliban?
Yes, sir.
Can you name other instances of foreign aid going to terrorist organizations?
We have assisted al-Shabaab in Somalia. There's been instances of the Hamzi network in Sudan, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Hezbollah, Kata'iba Hezbollah, Hayat Tahrir al-Shams in Syria. Dozens of terror organizations have received indirect assistance from U.S. foreign aid. Let's use Gaza as our case study. $2.1 billion in American taxpayers' money to Gaza since October 7th when Hamas invaded southern Israel. USAID money was going in terms of an emergency use authorization to try to go to parties that USAID formerly had a relationship with in the Gaza Strip. They had to have been vetted by OFAC. They should have been vetted against the special designated terror list from the State Department and from other Treasury organizations. Waivers were granted because they said that there was an emergency use to have that money come in to Gaza, thereby jettisoning the usual typical screening procedures. As a result, 90% of aid that was going from the United States by way of its agents in Gaza ended up in Hamas-controlled areas.
Well, here we go again, more taxpayer dollars being funneled by these bureaucrats straight to the terrorist organizations that we're supposedly fighting. It's unfreaking believable. And look, I know that there could possibly be an explanation. There could be some sort of peacekeeping effort. Sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do in order to achieve specific results. You know, just think about hostage payments, for instance. But a big red flag that pops up in this case particularly is the fact that they panicked and scurried to delete all of this financial data. You know, if there's a legitimate reason as to why they were sending this money to these shady foreign organizations and individuals, then why delete it? If the payments were justified, then, I don't know, simply justify them. But instead, this is what we get. The Hillary Clinton approach. Delete it quick. And people wonder why we support the work that Elon Musk is doing. Well, very simply because it seems as though he's onto something, and we appreciate the transparency. I mean, what's the alternative approach? Simply buy into the brain rot narrative that Elon Musk is the enemy of the people, and we shouldn't ask any questions? Just allow these unelected bureaucrats to continue acting with absolutely no accountability, transparency, or oversight, and don't ask any questions on how your taxpayer dollars are spent because that's somehow akin to fascism? Give me a frickin' break. Something is going on here. Clearly, they're trying to hide something. There's a cover-up, not only in the fact that they are seemingly deleting files, but also in their slanderous attacks against Elon. They're clearly trying to stop him from getting his hands on all of this information. And that's concerning to say the least. They want you to believe that what Elon Musk is doing is dangerous, but his track record speaks for itself. Elon is simply the messenger. He's simply showing us what's happening behind the scenes, just like he did with the Twitter files. You know, at this point, they could say all they want to misrepresent the facts, but the facts speak for themselves. He's developed a track record. He's not stealing money from your grandmother's social security and putting it in his pocket. The guy's a billionaire, for Pete's sake, and he clearly has no interest in material things. His lifestyle speaks to that. Yet they tell you he's greedy. They tell you he's a shadowy oligarch trying to overtake American democracy, but the entire time, this guy's operating with transparency, just like he did when he exposed the corruption behind the Twitter files. And actually, speaking of the Twitter files, we might as well bring up this latest scandal as well. Not only do we have Elon Musk recovering deleted data, but we've also got the House Oversight Committee finding hidden internal FBI chat logs that again show just how deep the corruption goes. This is related. So in this thread over here, we got FBI chat logs that show that on the day of the Hunter Biden laptop story, the day that it dropped, the FBI told its agents to, quote, not discuss the Biden matter. And what's crazy is that they knew that the Hunter Biden laptop was real. The FBI knew that it was real before it dropped. But they imposed a gag order on their own analysts. And apparently there was a whistleblower at the time that tried to tell Twitter staff that it was real, but he got shut down. Quote, admonished. He was told to stay quiet. In other words, more proof that the FBI attempted to rig the 2020 election, as they coordinated with big tech to silence the story of the decade under the premise that it could have been hacked information or a Russian operation, even though they knew that the laptop was real. Folks, this is exactly why transparency is important. This is exactly why Doge matters. This is why Donald Trump brought Elon Musk in. And it's also why the Democrats and their corrupt lackeys are screaming about authoritarianism and the dangers of Elon Musk. Because they're getting exposed as being the ones undermining democracy, hiding the truth, and enriching themselves and apparently terrorist organizations abroad. We're not just talking about financial waste anymore. We're talking about a regime that's funding terrorist organizations abroad while silencing Americans at home. From the IRS to the FBI, from USAID to USIP, these institutions have been totally compromised. They're not just bloated, they're not just wasteful, they've been corrupted. And clearly they're actively trying to cover their tracks. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys on this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, friends, and I'll see you on the next one.